Jason Fladlin here, co-founder Rapid Crush Inc. On behalf of Wilson, Matos, and the staff, we welcome you. We're the publishers of the plan, which in my opinion is the single greatest way that you can utilize cryptocurrency to improve your financial situation. Now, this is weird for me to say because 7 months ago, I was the biggest anti-crypto person that I knew. I didn't like it. I thought it was useless. And I thought it was annoying how many people were talking about crypto this and crypto that. And that was my own naivety because I didn't look at it. I didn't understand it. I didn't peer into it until one fateful Zoom call with the man you're about to hear. He showed me what he was doing with crypto. I didn't even know it was about crypto at first. I got ambushed to be on this call. I got on this call. I showed him what I do in 10 minutes. I said, okay, I'm sending money into crypto world right now. And then when I did what he told me to do, I started making money within minutes. And 6 months later, I have doubled my money. I'll show it to you later because that's the best thing of all. When you have something this good, you kind of just show it and you let it speak for itself. And so with that said, it is an honor and a pleasure to introduce you to the man that is changing more lives right now than anybody I have met. His name is Dan Hollings. Dan Hollings, the floor is yours, my friend.
Thank you, Jason. I really do appreciate it. I want to welcome everyone here today. What I'm going to try to do is just tell you my story because if you would like to join this huge community that we're building here, we do indeed welcome you. We're on a yellow brick road, so to speak, heading straight through the center of crypto land. And the first stop is cash flow. The first stop is how do you jump into something that scares a lot of people and generate cash flow starting within minutes of your implementation, within minutes of starting this thing that I call the plan. So I'm just going to brain dump a little bit. I'm going to tell you my story. I'm going to go in and show you exactly what I'm doing so that you understand how it works. Then I'm going to do something I don't think anybody's ever done. I'm going to take you and show you active accounts, live accounts of data coming in from every single member that started with me back in the beginning. These were people that started about 6 or 7 months ago. They're all still with me. There were 18 people. And rather than cherry pick and show you just the good stuff and hide things that, maybe you shouldn't see, I'm just going to show it all to you. There's nothing to hide here. And if you feel that you would like to be in the same situation as these 18 people, same situation as myself and my team, all the people that are doing the plan, then you have that option today. And you'll be shown how that can move forward if you so like. So let me share my screen. And we're going to talk about the plan. And as Jason said, a lot of people call this the wiggle your way to wealth method because that is what we're doing. And it sounds kind of funny, but all of this, you just sit back like a sponge and just absorb what I'm saying. By the time we get about midway, you'll probably know one way or the other if this is something you'd like to do. So let's do that. One of the cool things about what I figured out is the fact that it's the first time I've ever found anything where the less work that you do, the better it works. And I know this doesn't sound like, it doesn't sound like a believable thing. I get that. And there's going to be many times as you listen to me talk, you're going to think, what's the catch? Or, if this is so great, why is he showing us? Why didn't he just do it himself? And all that kind of stuff. The truth is that was my original plan. This was so great that I was going to do it myself. And as I share my story here in a minute, you'll realize how I kind of got ganged up on and people started pushing me forward and said, hey, you got to share this with the world, Dan. You can't sit on your rocking chair on the back porch playing your guitar, making money, and everybody else is struggling. So you'll hear the whole story in a minute. But one of the side features, one of the benefits of doing what I've been doing now for 3 years is the fact that you do nothing. In fact, there's a quote by Malcolm Forbes, the guy that created the Forbes magazine. The hardest work of all is doing nothing. I read this a few years ago, and I remember the time I didn't know what the heck he was talking about. And I'd been working just slaving away for years, and I did well at some things, just didn't do too good, but I certainly was not doing nothing. And then all of a sudden, I'm doing crypto, and I'm doing it in this unique way that no one else seems to know about. And the result is that I'm making money minute after minute after minute, nonstop, 24 hours a day, and it just keeps going, still going after 3 years. And I'm doing mostly nothing. And it's not like some trick or anything. It's not one of these scams where you're, make money while you sleep. It's not that. It's just that there is technology now, artificial intelligence, that can do this job for us better than you or I could do it ourselves. And so we just set this up, click the button, and we let it do its thing. It follows a rule set that I will hand to you on a silver platter. And it just goes. We check it every once in a while, make sure all's good, but pretty much there's nothing to do. So again, if there's a little bird in the back of your mind that's saying, hey, something's funny here, it's too good to be true, you're like everybody else. So try to do this. Just absorb what I'm saying. Don't judge it yet. And wait till we get to the point where I start showing you real people in live situations, the data coming in from their actual exchanges, and you can see what they've been doing now for 6 or 7 months. I'll also show you my accounts as well. I have a to-do list. It's become kind of an in-house joke because this is a journal. If you open it up, there's nothing in it. It's blank from the beginning to the end. It's about 100 pages long. And every day I do nothing. I check my checklist. And when it comes to how I make my money, this is what I'm doing. In the morning, I do nothing. I check it off. After a lunch, I do nothing. I check it off. And before I go to bed at night, I check it off. I do nothing. And the money keeps coming in. So what I'm going to show you is crypto. Crypto is speculative. Crypto is a place that scares the bejeebers out of a lot of people, quite honestly. And it is a place where if you decide to invest, you could lose some of that money. You could lose all of it. I've lost a lot myself, and you will lose some money along the way, even when you do the plan. But hopefully, if you're following the rule set, you'll make more than you lose, and you'll see how it can work out. As I say things about doing nothing, I want you to understand, just as I said earlier, we're not really doing a lot ourselves, but we are deploying technology to do work for us. And that's why we get to do nothing. I'm not a tax expert. I'm not a financial advisor or anything like that. So you're just going to hear me. I'm no different than you. I'm telling you what I've been doing over the last 3 years. And if you want to do it, I'm happy to show you how I'm doing it. And you can become a part of the plan, the community that we're building all around the world here. We are now in 119 countries. I keep updating the slide every time I open my mouth. It seems like we add a country. And I'm delighted because there's this funny thing. I mean, I've made good money on and off throughout my life, but once I started doing this, the money just became like, well, okay, it got a little boring. Today, what excites me is when I get up in the morning, I grab a cup of coffee, I read the stories of people that are doing this plan. And it's amazing. It's very rewarding to hear how lives are being changed just because people are doing something that makes financial sense for them and is helping them to generate revenue minute after minute, each and every day. But it didn't start as easy as it sounds now. It's not as easy as it will be for you. At least it wasn't for me in the beginning. Back in 2017, a good friend of mine, Tony, this is Tony here with his wife, Priya, he kept reaching out to me. He was a good friend. We'd done many projects together and said, Dan, you got to buy some Bitcoin. And I had done trading in my past, stocks and stuff like that. I really didn't like it, and I'd gotten out of it and just wasn't my thing. But Tony said, look, just buy a little bit and I think you'd like it. And I put him off until finally I bought some to shut him up. And then he would call me every few days and ask me how it was going. And I kept looking, and it was always worth more than it was the day before. It just kept going up and up and up. And if any of you guys have been around for a little bit and you were in crypto, you know that back in 2017, we were in this crazy bull run and crypto went all the way up to 20,000. It doesn't seem like much now because we're up, 50, 60,000 now. But back then that was really something. And that's when I first got my introduction to crypto. The problem was I began to fool myself into thinking I was some kind of an expert, and I just kept, trying things and doing things. And, no matter what I did, I had more money every day just because I was riding a bull run. what happened though is as we rolled into 2018, crypto started going the other direction. And I started losing money. And no matter what I tried, the things that worked yesterday didn't work today. And I just kept losing money and losing money. And I lost it all. I did. I lost it all. Everything I had in crypto was gone. I kind of scraped together, a little bit, a few thousand, and told everybody that I was getting out of crypto. I had embarrassed myself, really, but I put together a little bit, hid in the closet, so to speak, and I kept working at it. I said, there's got to be some way to make money out of this without having to set up a gazillion monitors and study charts and install indicators and all this crazy stuff I had been doing. And then what happened one day is I realized that if I could make friends with the thing that is scaring everybody else, and that's volatility. In other words, volatility is the part of crypto that scares everybody. It's the part they talk about in the news, the market's crashing, people are losing their money, everybody's running for the hills, that part scares people. It may be what has caused reluctance, in your mind. If I could make friends with that and somehow learn to benefit from the fact that it is volatile, then I would be one step ahead of everyone else because, hey, if crypto is anything, it's volatile. And that's when I had my first insight, my first breakthrough into this thing now that I call the plan. I found out that if I went down at the microscopic level and looked at crypto, it was always wiggling. Not the big swings they talk about in the news, but down in the weeds, so to speak. It wiggles and it wiggles and it wiggles. And I tried a few things and I figured out that I could make a small amount of money off of the wiggle. And I'm talking about a very small amount, maybe a nickel or a dime or a quarter or whatever, but it would just keep coming in and coming in, coming in. And the great part was that it didn't matter whether the market was going up or the market was going down or if it was going sideways. And by the way, the market goes sideways 80% of the time. Most traders, they twiddle their thumbs during these period of times because it's hard to make money at all when the market's going sideways. But what I was doing was working regardless. And it wasn't making me a lot of money, but the money was coming in like a virtual vending machine, just, nickel and dime and quarter, just, stacking up, so to speak. I perfected it. I built out this thing that is now called the plan. I started running these automations and I ran many of them. And the money became so good that that's when I came to the conclusion that I would keep this a secret. And by the way, I'm the guy that did the marketing for the movie The Secret, but this was a different kind of a secret. This was a secret that I wasn't going to sell. This was a secret that I was just going to keep to myself. I'm not all that young anymore, and I figured this would be my retirement thing. I was able to enjoy life, take vacations, spend time with my family, buy anything I wanted, and I didn't have to do anything. So I told Tony, zip your mouth. We're just going to do this thing, and that's it, until the cat got out of the bag. And that was because my good friend Elaine called one day. Elaine had originally introduced me to Tony, and I'd worked with her in many projects. Smart lady. She said, Dan, I'm going to do crypto. The blockchain is the future, and I'm going to buy some Bitcoin. I said, no, please don't do that. You'll lose money. 95% of the people that do crypto lose money. It's a fact. And that's what would happen to her. It had already happened to me, and I just couldn't let Elaine jump off that cliff. So I said, look, let's get on a Zoom call. I'll show you what I'm doing. I got her all set up, took about 10, 15 minutes, and she starts making money minutes after she's going. She called me back about a week later and said, hey, can we introduce it to my friend Daniel? And I said, well, okay, sure. I shared it with Daniel. We got him all set up, and within a few minutes, he's making money. He brings in his son, Anthony, and Anthony gets set up. He's making money minutes after we get going. Now, all of these people, I want you to remember who they are, because they are going to be the people that are going to help you once you get going. They're all still with me. They're here on this call today. I'm going to introduce you to some more. These are all people that are part of what could be your family, helping you to do this crazy thing that's making this minute by minute money for us. My chief operations officer, Ian, he said, what's going on? I hear you're doing something with Elaine and Daniel and Anthony and Tony. What is it? And I said, well, we're doing crypto. I got him started a few minutes later. He's having the same results. My marketing guy, Mikey, I got him going. Ashley. Ashley came on board, also helped me with marketing PR. It was working for us all. That's when they ganged up on me and they said, hey, you can't keep this a secret. You've cracked the code on crypto. We're dealing with Corona. We're dealing with economies crashing. People can't get work. And you have a way here, Dan. Now, I had taught people how to make money online for decades. And so there was nothing new about teaching, but I had not developed a course. I never, even in the wildest dream, thought I'd be sharing this. And so there was nothing there. So what we decided to do was just send out an email. I reached out to Jason and Will. They're both here today. You'll be hearing more from Jason later. These guys know marketing up, down, left, and right. And I figured, well, okay, let's do a little test run and we'll shoot this out to a small group and see how it works. But first I had to convince Will and Jason that this was even a thing that they would want to do. Both of them were anti-crypto, but I got them on a call. Within a few minutes, the light bulb went off in their head as well. They start doing the same thing. They're making money. So indeed, we sent an email out to a small list. We put a big price on this. For people to spend a few hours with me, they paid $10,000, sometimes $20,000, and I would help them to do the plan. To our surprise, we had so many people sign up that I could not get to all of the people that had paid. So now I've got a bigger problem. I'm having to unsell this thing and give money back. And the people didn't want their money back. They wanted to learn the plan. So I had to create a course in order to solve that problem. And so it's kind of like by accident, I got pushed into this. And look, I'm happy about it now because I'm enjoying hearing the stories. But that wasn't my plan. My plan was just to do the plan, but to do it privately. So we're here and hey, that's behind us. We also shared it with Jason's dog. He's got a mug there. The only person not in the plan at this point is you. And maybe this is something for you, maybe it's not. You'll decide. But if you come on board, you're going to be doing what we're doing, and that is wiggling our way to wealth. Crypto does one thing very well. It wiggles. And because we can now extract vending machine-like money out of this wiggle, it becomes something that you can do and yet still have a life. You can keep running whatever business you're doing. You can keep your job if you want to. You can spend more time with your family. Your revenue becomes independent because it's coming in from a technology, from artificial intelligence, from a bot that basically does the work for you. If you want to see what doing nothing looks like, I'm going to take you back, and you're going to see a lot of evidence today. I mean, an overwhelming amount of evidence. And it's so much that you kind of just get to the point where you say, okay, Dan, enough, shut up already. But I'm going to show it to you. The numbers you're about to see are from my account for over a year. And the numbers are a little hard to believe, but what's even more impressive is the fact that the money is not theoretical money. It's real money that I was able to spend as I got it. You see, you get paid instantly, minute after minute after minute, and it just adds up to a good amount. But it is not the kind of money that most people talk about in crypto. I'm sure you have friends or you have heard about people who have invested in, let's say, Bitcoin, and now it's worth twice or three times as much. And you're thinking, wow, I wish that was me. But the problem with that is that if you put 5,000 in Bitcoin and it goes up double, yeah, you made 10,000, but you don't have any money because the coin has increased, but your capital's tied up. That's called hodling. It's called holding. There's nothing wrong with it, but it's not spendable money. It's not cash flow. It's just an investment that you cross your fingers and you hope it's worth something in the future. And then when you do sell it, you hope it's still up. Finally, you get your money. But then when you get your money, you're out of the deal and you got to go find something else to buy and hope it goes up. It's kind of a crazy way to do things, but that's what most people are doing, or they're trying to trade, or they're trying to leverage, or they're trying to do shorts and this other stuff that takes years of training to do good. And still 95% of the people lose that do that. So the money I'm going to show you here is different. This money comes in, me doing nothing, and it's spendable cash. In August of 2020, I made $94,649 of spendable money. In the next month, September, I make $100,863. I'm making this like 10 cents, 50 cents, 25 cents, little tiny amounts of money, and it just adds up to this by the end of the month. In the next month, in fact, what I'm going to do here there is in the software, you'll be using the same software. You can go into the database, you can enter in this little calendar widget, and it'll show you how much money you've made each month. Back in October, you can see I made $6,112. And then I do the little calendar widget thing again, and you'll see the next month I make $30,537. Now, these are lots of automations that are working for me around the clock. I'm doing nothing, but yet spendable cash is coming into my account. I make in December $70,970. Now we roll into 2021, right? COVID is starting to come about and people are struggling, and yet still I make $41,283 in January. Here comes February. Again, 28 days, what do? $161,017 in spendable money doing nothing. It's harder to do this calendar widget than it is to do the plan, to tell you the truth. What do I do in March? $20,958. And then for April, I do $24,444. And you see how this works. Come May, I propose maybe you should be doing this, but let me show you exactly what I did in May. In May, I did $49,106. And the next month, I do $11,029. Come July, I make $34,693 in spendable money. This isn't theoretical. I have this money. I could, buy a car. I could roll it back into another investment, go on a vacation. This is real money. And yet, when I spend the money, I still have the automation going. It's like, you get the best of both worlds. You get to have your cake and eat it too. The next month, I make $20,425. That was August. The next month, I make $81,902. In October, I make $37,994. And then last month, I make $44,330. I don't expect you to believe this. It's a little hard for me to believe it. If it weren't for the fact that it's me, I'm spending the money and I've been doing it for 3 years, I don't think I would believe it if somebody else was telling me this. But it's as real as it can be. This is the evidence, but you could even be thinking, hey, yeah, this is just a bunch of screenshots. I'm going to show you live in a moment, live data coming in from exchanges, and you're going to see the same story. If you added all this up, just what I've shown you here, in a little over a year is $830,000, 325. It's a little hard to believe, stacking quarters, one after another, that you could stack them and create that much wealth over that period of time. And here's the great news. I don't just teach you how to run an automation. That's a strategy. What I'm teaching is a plan, as robust of a plan you're going to find in crypto, because it covers the entire crypto space. And it shows you how to set this up so that you've got a yellow brick road to wealth. I built it for myself. I'm sharing it with my friends and with others like you. I took profits along the way and I rolled them over into, I'll call it a vault, but it's a special place you can put your crypto that allows you to not only hodl, again, that means to hold it, but also to earn incredible returns on top of holding. I took this screenshot about 4 days ago, maybe 5 days ago. $1,462,000 is what this 830 turned into. The plan breaks things down to allow you to do crypto with a focus on things that are important. Number one in my book was safety. I never wanted to lose all my money like I did back in 2018. And one note on that, the market back in 2018 was a different market than where we're at today. Crypto and the blockchain has grown up. It has become the underpinnings, the infrastructure of our futures. Back in 2017 and 2018, it was what I call the greater fool theory. You buy some crypto and hope some greater fool comes along and pays a greater price. And you keep doing that over and over until you run out of fools. And then it goes the other direction and all the fools go broke. That's not the kind of market we're in today. The blockchain is the foundation of everything that is important to us as humans. It is already used to settle your Visa, MasterCard payments. It's already in the treasuries of just hundreds of companies around the world. It is being used as the monetary choice for countries already. There are applications that are being built and protocols and tokens that are basically replicating all of the things that we got used to in the traditional world. But there's a big difference. In that old traditional world that we're leaving, we were often getting snookered, all right, because of the fact that too many people had their finger in the pie. There was always a Mark Zuckerberg who was getting all the money by selling our data, or some CEO, or there were some fat cats behind the curtain. Why do you get 0.5% a year at the bank? Because somebody else is taking your money and making money off of it and only giving you a pittance. The difference as we move forward here into the blockchain world is the fact that it's you and the code. Bitcoin doesn't have a CEO. Bitcoin doesn't have a help desk. Bitcoin is just code. And so it and all of crypto and all of these protocols, they are fair. And it allows you to do something knowing that it doesn't matter if you're rich or you're poor or where you live or your race or your politics or anything. It just, none of that matters. And you've got a fair shot at doing really well if you only have a plan and you know what you're doing. So that's what we're talking about here. And I'm able to take you faster into this world. And you're going to end up in that world regardless of whether you want to be there or not, because that's where we're headed. And there's no turning back. So your choice today is, do you jump on the bus with Dan and let me take you forward into the future and position yourself to make this kind of revenue and benefit from these new technologies? Or do you just sit on the sideline and wait until you get swooped up with all the masses and end up here anyway? That's really your choice. So this plan focuses on safety. It focuses on diversity. It focuses on strategy. It focuses on hodling. And as I've explained, on planning for your future. And crypto is more than money. It's sports. It's entertainment. It's medical. It's the environment. It's music, it's art. You've heard about NFTs and all that stuff that's out there. This is its own world. This is the future. You can't ignore it. You have to do it. It's just, how are you going to get there? And I'm offering to take you there. What you don't want to be is the man or the woman with no plan. Now, I'm going to talk about Bitcoin just for a moment here, because a lot of people don't understand. You know, they're thinking, well, is Bitcoin going to crash? Is it going to go to zero? You know, what does Bitcoin have to do with Ether or all of the 6,000 or 7,000 other tokens? And, you know, just this whole new world out there. And you really kind of want to know, you know, are we on a rising tide? You know, are we in a boat and things are going up and I just happened to get lucky and caught a good time to get in? Or maybe are things starting to sink or dip? Or, I mean, just all those questions out there, I'm sure you have. And if you're getting your news from the news media or from social media and whatever, often that news is driven by what's called FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And that's not a good place to get your information because of the fact there's always some reason they're publishing this stuff. What I want to talk about is something that's just real. This predictive model is called the stock to flow model. It is the best indicator of what the future may bring for us for Bitcoin. And everything in the crypto space kind of follows on the coattails of Bitcoin and to a certain extent, Ether. And so whatever Bitcoin is going to do in the future, that's something that you should be aware of. This stock to flow model, which is just this brown line here, it was put in place over a decade ago, and it's just remarkable how accurate it has been for the entire decade that it's been tracking BTC or Bitcoin. So let's go back and let's take a look at this and let's see how it's worked out. Now, let me explain a little bit about this model. There's this thing that's built into the code. It happens automatically, and it occurs every 4 years. It's called a Bitcoin halving. And when this happens, automatically, the number of Bitcoin in circulation is reduced, and it increases the demand for Bitcoin. And the side effect, the result of that, is we get a parabolic bull run associated with the halving. So that happened back in 2013. It happened here in like 2017, and it happens here and it happens here. You can see it happens. In fact, it's every 4 years. And it will always do that. Okay. Where are we in relation to this, and what effect will that have on your future? Well, let's look. If we go back in time, when Bitcoin was first introduced, there was this event. The first purchase that ever occurred was someone bought 2 pizzas for 10,000 Bitcoin. Okay. Now, if we take 10,000 Bitcoin today and figure out how much it's worth, in fact, let me ask Siri. Hey, Siri, how much is 10,000 Bitcoin worth today?
10,000 Bitcoins is $486,492,420.
You got it? Almost $500 million. That 10,000 in Bitcoin there is worth almost $500 million if you still had it today. Now you'd be thinking, well, that sounds great and everything, but I didn't get into it back then. But today, even though this seems like it's more expensive, we're up in the 50s, it could be worth $1 million of Bitcoin, $2 million of Bitcoin in the future. And so this path that we're looking at here will continue to repeat itself if this indicator is correct. So let's forget about pizzas for a moment. Let's actually look at the path that Bitcoin took, the price of Bitcoin, and how it wraps around or hugs this predictive model. I'm trying to show you how accurate it's been. You can see that right here at the halving, the price was below the brown predictive line. It broke through and it peaked at around $1,000. That's what happened then. The next halving occurred right here. Now, I got involved right around here. Bitcoin was around $8,000 each when I got in, and it broke through this brown predictive line, and it went right through straight on up to 20,000. We then went into this period, which is now called the crypto winter. And it sounds awful, but that's when I developed the plan. And so this really has been time tested now for 3 years in some of the worst markets that you can imagine. And in fact, you'll see in just a second, we're not in a great market over the last week or so. And yet I'm going to show you live accounts. So back to this. Here's where we are today. We had a halving right here, okay, at the early part of 2020. And we are in a bull run now, and we just touched that brown line, that one brown line that we broke through here, And it looks like if this model is correct, once again, as I suspect it is, that's my opinion, then it's going to bust through and it's going to go on up, and we will probably hit somewhere around 100,000 within the next few months. May happen, may not, but that's what this model says is likely. Now, here's the great news. I don't really care. If it does that, then that means that all of my stars have aligned, and all of yours will as well, because the plan is independent of direction. I already told you, it didn't matter if the market went up or it went down or if it went sideways. I was going to make money because I'm making my money off of this microscopic wiggle that exists 24 hours a day. But if we are also happen to, be, in waters that are rising, the tide is going up, then hallelujah. How good can it get? That's what it looks like. That's what I hope it is. But even if it's not, guess what? We're going to just keep doing the plan right along here, even if it just kept going sideways, and we're going to hit another halving right in the early part of 2024. And if this isn't the period where you make wealth, why not let's plan on it occurring here? It's definitely within the cards. It's definitely possible for you to set yourself up to do this. So you're one lucky duck. We could be at $1 million Bitcoin sometime between 2025 and 2026. And you don't have to buy a whole Bitcoin. For you that are new, it's like pizza. If you just want to get a slice, you just buy a slice. If you just want to get a little bit of Bitcoin, you can buy just a little bit. Now, I'm not recommending you buy Bitcoin or anything, really. I'm just showing you that we are potentially in a rising tide. So are you in the right place at the right time? Yes. Bitcoin is more scarce than gold. If you bought gold 10 years ago, you'd have broke even. That's not a good investment. Gold isn't it anymore. Digital gold, Bitcoin, that's where it's at. There will never be more than 21 million Bitcoin in the world. That is it. It is a rare fixed item. Bitcoin has already created somewhere between 60,000 and 100,000 millionaires. I'm one of them. There are others doing the plan. So you're in the right place. Bitcoin has been, for the last decade, the best performing asset humankind has ever experienced. Not by a little bit. It has beat real estate. It has beat investments in stocks, in commodities, you name it. Bitcoin has been the winner by over 1,000%. So here's what you want to know. How is it that you're able to make money every minute of every day when 95% of the people that do crypto are losing money? I'm going to show you. In order to understand this, I'm going to ask you to do something crazy. I want you to pretend for just a moment that you're a spider. Now, if you were a spider and you wanted to catch a bug, a wiggling bug or a fly or something like that, what would you do? Well, if you're a spider, you're going to build a web, right? Because you know that if you build a web, it doesn't matter where the bug flies. As it wiggles by, it's going to hit one of your web lines and you're going to benefit from that. That's what I'm doing. Only it's not called a web, it's called a grid. We create, or I should say the automation creates a web or a grid of lines. These lines exist on your exchange. Your exchange is this place where you put your investment capital and it stays there. It is in your control. And then the software, the automation, manages your money in order to catch these flies, which happens to be price, as it goes by. Let me explain. The automation will set up a top of the grid range. It will set up a bottom of the grid range based on a formula that I'll teach you when we're working together. The red lines in your grid are open sell orders. You don't have to know what that is. And the green lines are open buy orders. So that if price happens to wiggle by and it hits a red line, the automation will automatically sell just a little bit of your crypto. If price happens to trip across one of your green lines, then it will buy just a little bit of crypto so that you have something to sell a few minutes later. And that's it. That's all there is to it. Now, there's not just 8 lines. Here you see 4 red lines, you see 4 green lines. In reality, there are going to be hundreds of these lines, and they're going to cover a monstrous range so that it doesn't matter where crypto goes. It can go up and down, and it will wiggle profits out into your pocket. So here comes price. Let's look at this. If it hits a green line, it will buy just a little bit of crypto, maybe 25 bucks worth. If it wiggles up and it hits a red line, it will sell a little bit of your crypto and you will make 25 cents. You're on your way. I mean, that's it. That's the first step. Then if it wiggles down and it hits the green line again, it'll buy a little bit more crypto. Let's say it wiggles further down, it'll hit another green line and the automation will buy a little bit more. It is basically using dollar cost average to buy inch by inch by inch as price goes down. You're buying the dip. Everybody's heard buy the dip, but nobody knows how because you can't guess when it's going to do what it's going to do. But I buy every dip. And then when price wiggles back up, I can sell it. The automation knows to turn the green line into a red line so that when it does wiggle up, bam, you've made another quarter. You've made 50 cents in the last minute if you understand what I just explained to you. Now, some of you probably think, yeah, but there's a catch. You know, the exchanges, they charge all these fees. And by the time you pay that, you'll be broke. It doesn't work like that. In fact, the way it works is that you'll make maybe 30 cents. You'll have to pay a nickel to the exchange. You get to keep 25 cents. I make my exchanges a lot of money and I don't care because I make an awful lot more. And so it goes. I set these things up. They wiggle and they wiggle and they wiggle. And I sit on my back porch and I play my guitar or I help you. That's why I have the time to do this. I don't have to manage this. You'll see my automations in a minute. They're making money as I'm talking right this moment. I could have made, I don't know, maybe $5, $6. It's not a lot of money, but I am making that little amount of money all day, every day, nonstop. It's remarkable. This is what it looks like if you see it in the real world. This is a grid range. You see all the green lines and the red lines. That range that it's covering could be 70% or 100% or 150%. It's a huge range. And all those dots there, there's probably 2,000 or 3,000 dots. They're stacked up on top of each other. Every red dot you see could be money in your pocket. Every green dot you see, that's the automation intelligently buying crypto as it goes down, using dollar cost average so that you've got something to sell a few minutes later. And so it goes. And this monstrous drop that you see right here, that's, I don't know for sure, but that's probably a 20 or 30 or 40 or 50% drop. And I don't care, because as it drops, it never goes straight down. In reality, it's wiggling and wiggling and wiggling, and it's buying and selling and buying, selling and buying, selling all the way down, and it's making money as it drops. And then, as it always does, it'll hit some support area and it'll bounce up and it'll wiggle and it'll go up and down and up and down. And guess what? If it goes up above the grid follows along. And if you set it up correctly, you can set it so that as it goes down below the grid, it'll follow along that way. It's kind of like a spider having a spider web with wheels. And if the spider sees the bugs are over by another light bulb, hey, you just wheel that whole spider web over there and keep catching the wiggle. And that's what we're doing here. It's hard to believe that this is real, that it exists, that it would do this. It's like a vending machine business, except better. I used to own 40 of these bubblegum machines, spiral bubblegum machines. I had them in different businesses all around my hometown. Had them in restaurants and car washes, and had one at the airport. And kids would come by, they'd put a quarter in, the bubblegum rolls down, and I'd come by every couple of weeks and get the quarters out and clean up the machine. I'd have to give half the money to the business owner. And then I'd come home and we'd dump all of these things on the kitchen table. And my wife and my daughter, we would roll quarters all night. It would take hours, and we'd have popcorn. We'd watch TV, and it was a fun business, you know. And then I'd dolly all of my quarters into the bank and deposit it. And I did that for a number of years. This is easier. No bubble gum. No route to have to maintain, no machines. You just collect the revenue as it comes in minute after minute. Now, you may have thought that there was going to be something bigger and grander and all of this stuff, you know, and you have to have monitors, you got to learn how to recharge, and you got to set up all this stuff. But that's not it. That's not the way you make money in crypto. That's the way you lose money in crypto. The way you do it is what we're talking about here. And I know that this works, because it's worked for me and it's worked for others, and I'm going to show you those others. As I said in the beginning, we started off by offering the plan for $10,000 to $20,000 for people to spend time with me one-on-one. And I did it only with 18 people. All 18 of those people are still doing the plan. They're all still with me, wonderful people. And they have all given me permission to show their accounts. And I'm going to do that in just a second. I want you to understand that you're looking at live data coming in from their exchanges, their various different exchanges, using independent third-party software. And you won't see their name, you're not going to see their account number, and I'm going to hide the web address out of privacy reasons, but you're going to see everything that they see when they look at their account each morning. And I'll explain how it works. Let's jump over there and let's do it. Okay, so this is my web browser. And I'm in Firefox here. Let me just do one quick thing. I need to hide something. Here we go. And that's just the URL. And that's out of protection for these clients. Okay, there we go. Now, the first thing I want to show you is this. This is a chart. We don't have to learn to read charts. And this may be the only time I even show you or even talk about a chart. But this is Bitcoin. And the reason I'm showing it to you is because I want to underscore the fact that we have been in a market crash for over a week, and almost everybody in the market is like scared to death. They've lost money. They don't know what to do. It's just awful. All right. You know, read the news. Okay. You can see that here, Bitcoin has just gone down and down and down and down. Every one of these candles represents about 6 hours of time. And just in the last week or so, I've measured it here from the top all the way down to the bottom. There has been a 38.9, almost 39% drop. That's a big drop. That's a kind of drop that gets in the news. It's on television. It's all over social media. It's a drop. Okay. And if you have an investment in crypto, you've probably experienced that. So as I show you these accounts, I want you to reflect upon the fact that you're looking at live accounts of people that are in the same crash as everybody else. And yet it sure is playing out differently for us. This is one of my accounts. This is a live account. So as you look at certain numbers here, you'll notice that the numbers are moving and changing. That's because this is live data coming in from my exchanges. There's a lot to look at here, and it might be a little scary. But when you do this, you'll soon realize that there's only a couple of things that you set up in here. You click a button and then you don't really even have to look at it. It's kind of like what you felt like when you first got in a car when you were a teenager. You had all of these things in front of you. You got the speedometer, the odometer, the windshield wiper, and the steering wheel, and the radio, and the pedals, and all that kind of stuff. And it's a pretty complex machine if you really think about it. And it's kind of scary. But you're so motivated to learn how to drive the car because you know the benefits. Same thing here. It will only take a short period of time to explain this, and then you really won't even look at most of these numbers on the screen. You'll get it pretty readily. But what I want to do is I want to point out a couple of areas to look at so that as I go through all 18 of these accounts, you'll know what you're looking at and you can look at it intelligently. Right here is $73,462. That's the amount of investment capital that I have working for me in the automations that are listed here. Now I have 8 automations. This is an automation. This is an automation. Each of these, they also call them a bot. Each of these bots is making me money as we speak. In fact, let's go down and look at my oldest one. It started 1 month and 18 days ago. That bot has wiggled out profits for me over 1 month and 18 days that equals $2,645. That is a 26% return on the investment capital that is associated with this bot. This one here has been running for 1 month and 16 days. It has made $7,032. Again, a reminder, this is money that is already out of the deal. It is in my exchange. I can even withdraw it and put it in my pocket and I can spend it. So this is spendable money. Each of these automations is catching that microscopic wiggle and putting it in my pocket, regardless of market direction. And you can see the numbers here. They add up to $17,312. So what this means is that I took $73,000 of my money. It's still in my exchange. I turn the software on and it manages my money for me. And it grabs the wiggle and pays me. And in 1 month, 18 days or less, it has given me $17,311. That is a 23% return on my investment. This one here, if you look at it, I set it up 2 days and 6 hours ago. And in 2 days and 6 hours, it has made me $73. I set this one up 3 days and 6 hours ago. It's made me $204. These numbers are the virtual vending machine profits. These are the quarters and the nickels and the dimes that are rolling into my pocket no matter what. The bot is programmed to only make money. It only buys low and sells high. It cannot do anything else. And so these numbers here are always positive. They're always green. It's always profit. It's always going into my account no matter what. But that doesn't mean you can't lose money. In addition to the bot making us profit from these little microtransactions, the assets that are being traded are going up in value and down in value and up in value and down. It's like the high tide and the low tide. It just keeps going up and down and up and down, and it will never stop. And in this column here, you will see that reflected. If it's red, like this one is negative 9.39%, that means that right now on this particular bot, that the tide is down, that this bot is underwater, that this bot, if I were to close it down right now, it would be a loss. I don't close it down though, because low tide becomes high tide and high tide becomes low tide. It just keeps going up and down and up and down. That's part of the process of the way this makes money. The way I look at it is that if it's red, I'm buying the dip. You can't sell something unless you buy it first. And when you buy it, it's red. And then later, as it goes back up, you sell it and it just keeps doing that. So this one's red, this one's red, this one's green, this one's red. It's obvious. But no matter how you look at this, I have $17,312 net spendable money in my pocket, and the exchange has already collected all of their fees. This is my bottom line here. Now, if I were to do something really wacky crazy, like decide that, hey, I've had enough of this wiggle stuff, I'm going to just shut everything down and put my money back in a bank so that I can make 0.5% a year. If I decided I wanted to do that, I could shut everything down. And if I did it right this moment, my net would only be $584. This is a number that it doesn't have a lot of meaning, because it only has meaning if you do something dumb, like shut everything down. But if I did, that's what this number means right here. You'll see when I show you the student accounts that people don't do that. Why would you shut something down that's making you money? Why would I go into a restaurant and take my bubblegum machine out, shut the thing down, stick it in my garage? Because it ain't going to make any money in my garage. I may as well leave the bubblegum machine in the restaurant and just let it make money. So we just let these bots just run. Let's take a look here at a member. This is a member's account. Let me refresh the page. This member has $45,000 invested. They have made a 52% return. They have $12,591 in their pocket. And look at this one, folks. Pay attention here. For this person's account, it's high tide. If they were to shut it down because the value of the assets actually for them is higher, they would actually make $21,320 if they shut everything down. Now, you may be thinking, oh my God, if I could grab $21,000, I'd shut everything down right now. But here's what you have to understand. This person isn't going to shut this down, even though they would net $21,000, because that's not what they're after. What they're after is this money. Because if you shut it down and you walk away with your $21,000, 1 minute after you shut it down, you're going to be setting it all back up again, because you're not going to have any minute by minute money coming in if you shut it all down. And you certainly don't want to make 0.5% a year in your local bank. So this is real. 45,000 in, they've got 12,500 in their pocket. If they were to shut it down, they would have an 88% return. Just remarkable. How long have they been doing it? They've been running bots. Let's see, what do they got? They have 8 of them here. They've been running them for almost a month. And that's their return. Let's look at the next one. This person, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to refresh a number of these probably, but that will show you that this is live data coming in. This person has 92,900 in. They've made $31,000 net spendable, free and clear money in their pocket. It's a 37% return. If they were to shut everything down, they are up 13%. And they have been doing this for 6 months and 10 days. Now think about this. This person started 6 months and 10 days ago. The automation they started then is still running today. It's been running for 6 months and 10 days. They have not touched it. They have not had to maintain it. They didn't have to do anything at all. They're following the plan. They're doing what? You're right. They're doing nothing. They have another one running that's made $3,742. It's been running for 6 months and 10 days as well. And it has, given them a 74% return. This one's been running for 6 months and 89% return. This one's running 3 months and 15 days, a 40% return. You're looking at the numbers here. That's it. They started one 43 minutes ago. 43 minutes ago. And guess what? They made $1. Okay. That's $1 more than you made sitting here watching this presentation. I mean, that's the way this works. Why would they keep, bots running and keep adding bots if the darn thing wasn't working? Another interesting fact is I told everyone that the max they could put in back when they first started was 25,000. Some people put in 3,000, some people put in 5,000, 10,000, whatever. But the max was 25,000. So the fact that you see 92,000 invested means that they must believe this works. They've been taking their profits and rolling them back in. They probably have taken some outside capital that was in some losing investments, and they're putting it into something that works. And so therefore, they've got a lot more money in here. But you don't have to have this much money. If you just have a few $1,000s, that's all you need to start, and you can be getting returns, hopefully, that look like what we're looking at here in these live accounts. Now, I'm going to go pretty fast because there's a lot to show you here. I'm going to show you all 18. We've only looked at 2 thus far. Okay, again, I'm going to refresh this. In fact, I'll tell you what, I'm going to refresh everything here all at once. Maybe that'll help us go faster. Give me just a minute. Okay. Mr. Internet, wake up, wake up. Let me go to the next one. Maybe it'll pull in. Maybe the next one. One of these is bound to pull in. Here we go. This person has $27,240 invested. They have made $7,905 net in their pocket. That's a 27% return. Now note this, because I'm not trying to hide it. If they were to shut everything down right now, they would lose $1,867. It'd be a dumb thing to do, but they could do that if they wanted to. But instead, and these people know what they're doing, they've been doing this for 5 months and 6 days. Instead of shutting it down, they're just letting it go. Because as long as they let it go, the money's going to continue to wiggle in, and the tide, the swing up and down in the market is just going to do what it's going to do. You know, a good analogy to this that you may be able to relate to is real estate. You know, instead of this being a bot, imagine that you went and bought, in this case, 7 properties. You'd go and you buy 7 rental properties and you put tenants in there. Let's say you get these perfect tenants. They never complain. The roof never leaks. You know, the toilet doesn't, overflow. Everything's beautiful. And all that they do is pay you the rent. Well, if that were the case, would you suddenly close the house down and board it up, or would you let the tenants stay? You see what I mean? You just leave it be. You also wouldn't be calling your real estate agent every day and saying, hey, how much is the house worth today? And then the next day, how much is my rental property worth today? You wouldn't do that because you're not planning to sell, so it doesn't even matter, because prices always go up and down on every asset that exists on the planet, and there's no difference here. It goes up, it goes down. We let that happen, and we just keep making our minute by minute wiggle profits. This person has 36,000 in. They've made $14,954. This person here has 21,900 invested. They've made a 24% return, $6,334 cash net in their pocket. This person here has 76,000 invested, 30,700 profit in their pocket. That's a 51% return. This person has 119,900 invested, 28,400 net cash spendable, free and clear money in their pocket. This person has 38,200 invested, and they've made $11,252 profit. The next person, all of these, by the way, are all students that started about 5 or 6 months ago. One footnote, if you do close a bot down, and I'm sure these students have done that, that doesn't show here. So you can surmise from that they have made money on other bots that are no longer active. Now, why would you shut one down? Sometimes you shut them down because, let's say you start a bot with $3,000 and it's really kicking out the cash and you like it. You may decide that you want to put more money in. Maybe you want to do 5,000. Well, you have to shut the bot down temporarily in order to put the extra money in, and then you start it back up. So sometimes you shut a bot down for a good purpose, but those closed bots, unfortunately, the share feature that they have in the software doesn't allow us to show you the closed bots. So there are closed bots. There would be additional profit that is there, but I'm just showing you the status of live accounts. In fact, we're not even looking at results. I haven't shown you any results. I'm showing you the status of their account. We don't know what the result is until you get to the end and you finally close it down, and you know what your result is. But you can see that money's coming in. This person has 208,000 invested. Why would they put that much money in? I bet it's because they've made $96,845 in 5 months and 29 days or less. And they could care less whether this thing's going up and down or what, but if they wanted to shut it down, they would still walk away with net in their pocket of 54,300 and whatever. It keeps changing. Need I remind you, we've been in a terrible crash for the last week or two? And look at this. Look at this. Would you rather be that risk-taking trader out there trying to pretend that you've got Nostradamus-like abilities and you can pick the bottoms and you throw a bunch of money in and you cross your fingers and you watch the monitor and you sweat and you stay up all night and you hope it goes up, and inevitably it doesn't, because 95% of the time it goes the wrong way and you just end up losing money. You just get that. It's as close to gambling as you can get. You will fool yourself into thinking that you're smarter than the market, but I assure you, you are not. We don't even try to guess which direction this thing's going to go. Why bother? We just set a web. We act like a spider. You think a spider could just sit there in a chair and try to guess which way a fly is going to go? The spider could sit there for hundreds of years and never predict which way a fly is going to go. It's not possible. It's no different in crypto. You cannot predict the direction. So rather than that, be spider-like, cast a web and just catch it no matter what. And no, you will never catch a moonshot. No, you will never walk away with like a big $10,000, prize at the end. You'll never do that with the plan. Instead, you will make tiny chump change every minute of every day for the rest of your life. If you want. That's the way I do it. That's the way these people are doing it. That's the opportunity that's here. This person has 83,000 invested. They've made 37,000 net in their pocket in the last 5 or 6 months. This person has 49,000 invested. They've made $8,081 net in their pocket over the last 5 or 6 months. This person has 50,000 invested. They've made $22,580. That's a 46% return. Unbelievable. Okay. This person here has 38,000 invested. They've made $17,091 in profit over the last 5 or 6 months. This person has 150,000 invested. They've made $46,318 cash in their pocket, 40% return over the last 4 or 5 months. I'm not showing you all of this because it's the same. And I'm trying to breeze through it pretty quick here. But here we have 57,000 is invested. They made a 64% gain. That is a $32,600 net cash in their pocket. If they were to close it down right now, they are up 12.5%. This person has 124,000 invested. They've made $41,760 or so over the last 5 or 6 months. This person has 95,000 invested, 36,000 net in their pocket. This person has 24,000. They've made 10,700 net in their pocket. And then this person here has 25,000 invested, and they have made $8,575. Now, let me explain kind of the way most people do things. And some of you may have been trying this. The way it works for most people is they try to guess the market, and they'll make a purchase, cross their fingers, and then in the future, they'll sell it. But what if you bought it and you bought it right here? Because it looked like it was going up, right? And you can say, oh, guys, this is going up. So you buy, and you buy right there. And then lo and behold, it starts going the wrong direction. Well, here's the way it could play out. I'm going to use simple numbers. Let's say you bought it here. It was $10. And then it didn't go the direction you wanted. This wasn't that moonshot the guru on YouTube promised. Instead, it went the wrong way. It starts going down. And let's say it's worth $5 here. So you started by investing $10. It drops down and it's only worth $5. You have lost half your money. No two ways about it. Unless you're doing the plan. Because if you're doing the plan, and this one doesn't have all the dots because they started right here, but if you're doing the plan, as it drops, it's making you wiggle profits. You could start this thing up here at $10, and as it's dropped, it's making a quarter and a nickel and a dime and a quarter and a nickel and a dime and a quarter and a nickel and a dime. It's making you all this money, and you get down here to the bottom, and even though the value of the asset is worth half as much as it used to, you have shook $20 out of the market and it's in your pocket. So sure, you lost $5 because the value dropped, but you've got profit of $15 because you made 20 and wiggle along the way. Now, it doesn't always work out just that perfect. I mean, sometimes it doesn't wiggle out enough to recoup your gain. You may end up down here and you might be at break even. But even that's not so bad. It may be you bought in at 10 and it comes down here and it's worth 5. And maybe this thing only wiggled out $4 along the way. So you'd still be out $1. But here's what I can promise. As compared to every other strategy that I've seen, the way that everybody else is trying to trade this thing, if you do lose money, you will always lose less than everybody else that's doing the exact same trade. Pretty neat, huh? And sometimes they'll think you're lying if you tell them. You'll tell them, look, I bought high and I sold low and I made $20. And they'll go, you're a nut. But indeed, that's the case because you can start high, make wiggle as it goes down, and sometimes it wiggles more profit out than the actual drop in profit. It's crazy stuff. It is hard to believe, but I'm hoping that I've shown you enough evidence, enough live, statistical proof that this thing works. It works. Even when you lose, let me kind of show you another example. Like this is their account here, and they have, this one is up 39%, this one is up 14%, this one is up 7%, and these are down. They're negative, they're below. Now, they're not going to close any of them down, but let's just say that, they just got tired of looking at this one, and they just wanted to get rid of it for whatever reason. They would lose 15.37% when this was closed. All right. But is that a loss? Go into your accountant and propose this. Tell them that you just closed one of your trades down and it lost 15%. Let's say it's, I don't know, $3,000. Okay. And you lost, and by the way, this would not be 3,000, but let's say you lost $3,000 and your accountant's going to go, okay, you lost $3,000. How much did you make for the month? And you say, oh, well, I made $8,582. And your accountant's going to say, that's not a loss. You see, you can't just lose a little money here and say you lost, if indeed through the strategy, through the diversity, through the way we do this plan, the losses can get buried in the gains. And so therefore, this isn't a loss. I could shut all of these down and it wouldn't be a loss when it comes to the net that I have in my pocket. In fact, if I did shut them all down, you can see that as a fact because there is the net, $2,300. Even though you would have lost on 4, you would have won on these, that would be your net. I wish that I had like about 3 weeks and we all had the patience of whatever. I would take you and show you as many accounts of students and members as I could, because there isn't anything to hide. There are people that lose money. There are people making money. You're going to see the game. You're going to see exactly the way this works. There's not a trick here, but there's a smart way to do it. And here's the secret of all secrets. Remember the number 65, and that's not your retirement age, but it's a magic number because if you can find any strategy that will win 65% of the time, and you just keep doing that strategy over and over and over, that is the secret to wealth. That's what I figured out. Now, this plan tends to be successful more than 65% of the time, but 65 is all you need. That's your floor. If you went to Las Vegas and you knew for a fact that you could play the slot machine and you would win 65% of the time, I would say get you a big bag of quarters, go there and just keep pulling the one-arm band, over and over and over again. All right. Because even though you would lose 35% of the time, the odds are in your favor. And if you just keep at it, if you just keep doing the same thing, you will eventually be on the road to wealth. That's what we're doing, but we're doing it even better. So many people that I see, and it was even me in the beginning, I'd see one YouTube person saying, try this, I'd try it and I'd make a little. I'd see another one do something, I'd try that and I'd lose. And I'd try this, I'd read an article, I'd read a book, I'd watch a video, and I was doing strategy hopping. And you will always lose using that approach. And that is the approach that most people use. Instead, pick one that you can trust. Pick one where you know that you're going to get help. Pick one where you've seen evidence. There is no other trainer out there that is willing to show you every single account of every person that they have taught. And I've done that for the first beta group and just laid it out there. And if you do this and just keep going, that's what I feel is the yellow brick road, the road to wealth. And that's what we're doing.